All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for today's presentation on the School of Nursing and MSU Mankato. As more individuals join today's presentation, I will just get started and talk a little bit more about Minnesota State University Mankato. For short, I'll call it MSU. So MSU is located in Mankato, Minnesota. It's a southern city. It's about an hour and a half away south of the Twin Cities. That's where our international airport is located, MSP. Our population of Mankato is roughly 60,000. So depending on where you're coming from, it might be smaller, it might be bigger. But MSU's population, so student-wise, we have about 14,000 students that attend MSU, both graduate and undergraduate. Of the 14,000 students, we have about 1,100 international students, so that's great. Other things to know about MSU is that we have 130 undergraduate programs, some of which we'll discuss today with the School of Nursing. And although we're not in a big city like the Twin Cities, there's still a lot to do in Mankato. There's a lot that you can do to get involved. We have about 900 student organizations and clubs that you can join and be a part of. So it's very community-based. You get to know people within your major, but also the institution and your major as well. So we'll get started a little bit more. I'll just introduce who I am, and then the panelists that you see on the screen will introduce themselves as well. My name is Erica Dooley. I am an international student advisor in the Kearney Center for International Student Services. I will be moderating today's presentation. And like I said, I work in the International Center, so I focus on the immigration pieces, like visa, how to maintain your status, if you have any questions about your I-20 or paperwork, applying to the institution we can assist with and connect you with. So that's a little bit about myself, but we can introduce the rest of the panelists. Cassie, do you want to?
Sure. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you're coming from and joining us. I'm Cassie Johnson. My title is Student Relations Coordinator for the School of Nursing. For U.S. students, you can think of me as an advisor, one of the advisors that will be working with you when you enter the university and declare your major as nursing. Myself, along with our staff, will be here to assist you throughout that orientation process, and usually for about the first 2 years of your undergraduate academic journey. So thank you. Dr. Jehad, Adwan.
All right, I'll go next. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jehad Adwan. I'm a faculty at the School of Nursing. I teach in the undergraduate program as well as the baccalaureate completion. I teach pediatric content and clinicals. I teach research and quality and safety. I also advise a group of the undergrad students with the help of Cassie, of course, otherwise I can't do a very good job. I also advise dissertations and graduate students graduation projects as well. I'd like to welcome all of you, and I hope this would be very useful for you. Welcome.
Victoria or Sosena, do you want to go next?
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Victoria Nwogo. I am from Nigeria. I'm a pre-nursing student, and we're just here to give you more information about nursing, and I hope you find everything here useful as you approach your MSU and make the best use of everything. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sosena. I'm from Ethiopia. I'm majoring in pre-nursing. I'm here to give more information about nursing. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you everyone for introducing yourselves. Before we get into the presentation, I just want to let everyone know who's attending today's presentation that you can use the chat function at the bottom of the screen. So definitely at any point in today's presentation, please feel free to put in a question and we will address that before this presentation wraps up. So definitely let us know what questions you have, and we are more than happy to answer those questions at any point in time. So you have student presentation here, you have immigration presentation here or representation here, you have a faculty member here, and you have a staff member here who focuses all within the School of Nursing. So Cassie, whenever you're ready, please feel free to start the presentation.
Sure. We weren't going to do the polling or now or?
Oh, that's a good point. Yes. Yes. Okay. So there is a poll. Thank you so much for that, Cassie. So if you could, there is a poll up on the screen. So which description best describes you? If you could please answer, that would be great. Are you a first-year student, never attended another institution before, international transfer student, attended another university outside the United States, or US transfer student attended another institution inside the US? All right, thank you so much for answering the poll. This is great.
Erica, it looks like we have a special guest. Dean Dahlman is here. Dean Dahlman, if you're on right now, would you like to introduce yourself quickly?
Absolutely. Let me see if I can get my, I don't know if my video is on. You can only see my static picture, but that's okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Anne Dahlman. I'm the Interim Dean of Global Education here at Minnesota State Mankato. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to students who are sharing their experiences with the nursing program. And thank you to faculty and Cassie, advisor. And please know, students, we are here to answer your questions, and we are thrilled that you are here. We hope that you will join a very diverse and global campus, and we would love to have you on campus in the fall. Let us know if you have any questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dahlman. Whenever you're ready, Cassie.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and hope to provide you all a nice overview of our nursing program. And maybe that will lead to some more questions after the presentation that you may want to ask myself or Dr. Adwan or our pre-nursing students here. We recognize that there is a lot of information to go over, and it can be a bit overwhelming when it comes to understanding the nursing program. We recognize it takes multiple times hearing and asking questions to really feel confident. So please know that, and also know that the international office will be sending you an email this afternoon, which will review this information and will give you some attached documents. So if you are taking down notes today, that's great, but know that we will be following up with information after this presentation as well. All right, we will get started. And so give you a bit overview of our nursing program. Graduating from our program, which is officially called the Pre-licensure program, will award you a bachelor's degree. We are a nationally accredited nursing program and of course approved by the Minnesota Board of Nursing. When you graduate with your bachelor's degree from Minnesota State Mankato, that is what will allow you to sit for your licensure examination. And that is a national exam that all nurses, registered nurses, or what we call RNs, take in the nation. We are a generalist nursing program, perhaps Dr. Adwan can talk a little bit more about what that means. But students in our program will not specialize in a particular area of nursing. Throughout our program, our curriculum will cover a wide variety of different areas of nursing, and throughout the lifespan, you will get hands-on experience in a variety of different areas of nursing. And hopefully through those experiences, you will find areas that you really enjoy and that really aligns maybe with your strengths or your skill set. And it's very likely that you will experience some areas of nursing that perhaps you never want to do again, and that's okay as well. And so that's really the benefit of a generalist program. When you initially start here at the university, you will come into the university through our orientation process. And myself, along with our other advising staff, will be working with you to prepare you for the academic program and help you plan out your coursework. We here in the School of Nursing advising team are with you throughout usually the first 2 years of your academic journey, helping you plan out your coursework and understand your program requirements and some different tools that will be helpful for you as a student. When you are a nursing major at Minnesota State Mankato, you will come in declaring your major in nursing, but you are not officially admitted to the pre-licensure program yet. That is a separate process that happens later within, usually towards the end of your second year. And that's something that often confuses students. And so initially you're working with our staff, and once you're officially admitted to the pre-licensure program, that is when you would be assigned a faculty advisor like Dr. Adwan. To give you another little illustration of that general plan, initially, again, coming into the university, you've already heard our students here today, Victoria and Sosena, really recognize that they are pre-nursing students. So they are not admitted formally yet to the pre-licensure program. As a pre-nursing student, they are focusing on taking 2 types of coursework at this time. They're going to be taking their general education classes, which are required for all university students. And more specifically, they're taking and focusing on their major prerequisite courses, the very specific classes that our nursing majors must complete. Eventually, they will have met the requirements for that next step of their academic journey, and that's to formally make application to the pre-licensure program. We'll talk about what that consists of in a moment. Once they're admitted, that's when they're officially in that pre-licensure program. That's when they can start calling themselves a nursing student instead of pre-nursing. The pre-licensure program itself is 2 more years. And the completion of those 2 years is what awards you as a graduate with that bachelor's degree and what makes you eligible to take the RN licensure examination to become a registered nurse. Here we see a sample 4-year plan of study. It gives us a little bit more detail. We can recognize we have the fall and spring and the 4 different years here. The first 2 years, again, are going to be generally those first 2 years as a pre-nursing student, taking both general education courses and the prerequisites. All of those bolded courses, 14 of them are the prerequisites for our major. So you have very specific courses that you'll be taking and that will be helping you select along your academic journey. Generally speaking, you can see by the end of your the sophomore year, your second year at the university, is when students are generally ready to make formal application to the program. Upon admission, the last 2 years is when you're in the official pre-licensure program. Now, we want to transition and talk a little bit more about what is required to officially apply to the program. We do have 3 application criteria for all students. You must have at least 30 semester credits completed. Students must have a 3.0 minimum cumulative GPA. So that means out of all the credits you've ever taken or even transferred in, that cumulative GPA needs to at least be a 3.0. And then lastly, students do need to have our core prerequisites done with at least a C grade. These are 8 specific classes that we will look at in a moment. They're key courses that you're taking throughout your 2 years, and you'll see, we'll look at kind of what those courses consist of. Now, this is the 3 application criteria for all nursing majors. But we do have an additional requirement that speaks specifically to English language proficiency. In addition to those 3 application criteria, students from non-English speaking countries, which would be the same countries identified as for university, for admission to the university. If you come from one of those non-English speaking countries, students must additionally demonstrate one of the minimum English proficiency requirements below. And this, again, must be demonstrated before students would be eligible to apply to the nursing program. So we do have opportunities. We will take a TOEFL IBIT, the paper-based exam, or the IELTS. If you have not met this minimum requirement upon starting at the university, remember, this requirement just needs to be met in order to apply to the program, which is not likely going to happen until the end of your second year. And so there will be opportunities available to retest here on campus if you need to do so, if you come from one of those non-English speaking countries. All right. I want to circle back to those prerequisite courses that I mentioned earlier. Here on the left, those 8 core prerequisites are those key courses that must be done before you apply. You can see that 3 of them are our main sciences. We have Bio 220, which is our human anatomy, which will come with a lab. We have a Chemistry 111, which is really an organic and a biochemistry course with a lab, and then a physiology course, which also has a lab. We're going to encourage students to take one of these science courses at a time as you progress in the curriculum. You'll also be taking composition, a cultural geography, human development, a nursing writing intensive course, which is what the W means. And then the only math for our major is going to be a statistics course. So these 8 core prerequisites must be done before you apply to the program. And on the right-hand side, the support prerequisites, these 6 courses will need to be done before starting. We will help you plan out this coursework. You don't need to know all of these details at this moment, but just know that there's very specific courses that you will be enrolling in as a nursing major to get you ready for our program. Once students have met the application criteria and they're ready for that next step to formally apply, that application process will consist of 3 steps. Submitting your application to our office, pretty simple. Also taking a standardized entrance exam called the TEAS. It's very common in the US for many nursing programs to have a standardized exam that their applicants need to take. We use this exam called the TEAS. We offer this exam on our campus for applicants every semester, and it will test students in math, science, reading, and English. Lastly, to apply to our program, you will also interview. And we have a group interview process, and Dr. Adwan has participated in that before, so he can speak more about that if you wish. But That means we have 4 or 5 student applicants that will be interviewed in a group by 2 faculty instructors. And that is really an opportunity for students to talk more about their own personal experiences, maybe their motivations, their goals as a nursing professional, and just really something else that the School of Nursing looks at more holistically as an applicant than a certain GPA or a score. At the conclusion of the application process, that is when the School of Nursing is going to make decisions about admission to the pre-licensure program. Nursing here in the US is a very competitive program, and it's that way because we are what's called a limited access major, meaning we have more qualified applicants than we have seats available in the program. And so we need to make decisions about who is admitted for those seats. The School of Nursing specifically uses a ranking process. This is where we look at 3 pieces of data to rank our applicant pool. Those 3 data components are illustrated here in the pie chart. And so you can see that 50%, the highest weighted factor for our ranking, is going to be based solely on an applicant's core GPA. What is that exactly? The core GPA is just the GPA from those 8 core prerequisite classes that we briefly looked at earlier. So students, that really lets you know that those core prerequisite classes are really where you want to achieve very strong letter grades. And taking and enrolling in those courses in a balanced way each semester is going to be an important factor and something that we're going to provide advisement on with you. In addition to looking at that core GPA, we'll also look at your score from the TEAS exam, and lastly, the score from your interview component. Once the overall ranking takes place, the School of Nursing does offer admission to the top 56 students. Those 56 students will go on and start the official pre-licensure program and then graduate in 4 remaining semesters. You can see we do have a large pool of applicants. Generally between 70 and 80 do make application to our program for those 56 slots every single semester. We know that can be a little overwhelming or feel a little daunting. One piece that we really talk about in advising is tracking your progress, knowing where you're at each semester and when you are ready to apply and where you would be as an applicant. One piece that we talk about a lot is going to be the core GPA, and Sosena and Victoria can probably attest to that. What our data has historically shown us is that students who receive admission to our nursing program tend to have a core GPA between a 3.6 and 3.7. And so we want you to be aware of what your core GPA is every semester as you progress through the curriculum, because that can be a really strong indicator of your admission competitiveness. Now, before those 56 students start the official pre-licensure program, we do have one final requirement, and that really requires all of our admitted students to be a certified nursing assistant. So what is that exactly? In the US, a nursing assistant is an individual that assists a nurse in a hospital setting or a nursing home setting or a long-term care facility working with older adults. And they really work directly with patients and provide many of the basic daily personal cares, grooming, bathing, things of that nature with the patients in those facilities. To become a nursing assistant and meet this requirement for our program, students will need to take a test out required by the state. So how do you prepare for that test out? Well, students are typically going to sign up for a training. And that training is something that's offered in the community. It's offered at other institutions, but we don't currently offer it at our university. And for that reason, an opportunity that the School of Nursing, along with the International Office, partners is to support our international students, you all, to really get this training through a community employer. We have many employers in the Mankato community that have a nursing assistant in training program where they will take on or hire our international nursing students who are eligible, and they will provide them the necessary training to prepare you for the test out to meet this requirement for the program. That will also be an opportunity for you to continue employment if you wish with that agency, earn a paycheck, and really get hands-on experience working with patients, learning a little bit more about the healthcare system, advancing English proficiency if that's something you wish to continue advancing, and really just a nice way to get your basic, some of that basic understanding of nursing skills prepared for. This experience is called Curricular Practical Training. We shorten it to CPT. And this is something that's available to students usually after at least 1 year of full-time studying in the US. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what happens in the nursing program, the pre-licensure program. And again, I think Dr. Adwan will be happy to talk a little bit more about that experience because that's where he teaches. One key piece of our program is experiential learning. That is really a general term we use to describe that hands-on learning experience for our students. And you'll get those experience in a variety of different ways. Service projects where you may be out in the community working with some general health populations or general populations on some health and wellness initiatives. Simulation. This is, we have a simulation center on campus where you will be working and practicing your clinical and assessment skills on a variety of high-tech mannequins that really create a very authentic real-life experience where you can practice, make mistakes, redo, and really learn from those experiences with yourself and also along with your cohort. And then, of course, our students throughout the program will go to a variety of different clinical rotations. We have very diverse clinical sites in our program. Our students don't just go to one hospital. They will be at a variety of different hospitals throughout the 4-semester program. You'll be in both urban, have opportunities to be in both urban clinical sites in the Twin Cities, which is where the international airport is that Erica mentioned earlier, and also in some rural hospitals, certainly in Mankato, but right around Mankato. And so that's important to note because it really does emphasize that transportation to these clinical sites is a reality for students in our program. Our students do typically carpool together to these sites. Preceptorship is something maybe Dr. Adwan can talk about. That will take place in your final semester before you graduate. And I won't go into more in depth about that now, I'll wait. When you do graduate, that is when you have that bachelor's degree, and that's when you can take your national nursing examination. That exam is called the NCLEX RN. Again, we want all of our students to pass that exam on the first attempt, and we have strong pass rates. We've always been in line or above the state and national averages. And so we're very proud of that and assist our students throughout the program in preparing and getting ready for that exam. And students, you do additionally have tools available to you after you graduate to get you ready for that exam. Most of our graduates take that exam within about 2, maybe 3 months of graduating from our program. Once you have that RN license, you're looking for jobs. We do have nearly had 100% placement for our students. I don't say it's exactly 100% because sometimes we have a couple students waiting out there for a very specific position, or maybe they're location bound. With that said, it's important to note that, as it states on the slide, nursing is not a STEM designated profession in the US. And so as an international student, once you graduate from our program, it's not likely that you would be sponsored on an H-1B. And so that's important to know as you begin this journey and kind of what that might mean for you upon graduation. Now, as you start here at the university, we encourage you to get involved. Erica talked about lots of different opportunities to get involved on campus with organizations. One of those is the Student Nurses Association. This is really an opportunity to get involved connected to your major, where you can meet other pre-nursing students or nursing students in the program. You can learn about the different areas of nursing when they bring monthly speakers to campus. You can also get involved in volunteer opportunities, just really fun social events, and really just kind of feel connected and learn more about your major. They also have a mentor match program where you as a pre-nursing student could be matched with a student in the program. And so they can kind of show you the ropes and answer those questions that only another student can answer. You also have, although you have lots of hands-on experience in our program, in the summer months, once you have an option to apply for internships to be completed for paid or unpaid experiences. Once you're in the program, the state of Minnesota has a very robust internship program at a variety of healthcare facilities, and we've been fortunate that many of our students have been awarded those internships that have given them really great experiences and prepared them for graduation. You also may want to get involved in research. Maybe that's an interest of yours. Dr. Adwan could talk about that. Maybe you want to do your own research. Maybe you want to work with a faculty member on their own research. There's different ways to get involved. Some students have even gotten involved with maybe a biology instructor's research project, depending upon the various interests. We're happy to align you with a faculty mentor, depending upon your interests, whether it's as a pre-nursing student or a student in the program. And lastly, before I turn it over to the student panel, I want to talk a bit about transfer credit, because I did recognize that there was a variety of students that indicated on the poll that they have credits probably from a non-US school, so a college or university abroad. We will honor transfer credits, but a lot of students will initially ask me, will my credit transfer? And the better question is usually, how will my credit transfer? And so when credit is evaluated here at the university, our university staff will identify if that course is going to fulfill one of the prerequisites for your major. Maybe it will fulfill a general education requirement. Maybe it's going to be just elective credits that you need to eventually earn 120 credits for your degree. So there's a variety of different ways that credit may be honored here at the university for your degree. What's really important for students who have credit from a non-US college or university is that when you go through the evaluation process, it first starts by getting your credit from that abroad university evaluated by a recognized outside agency first. We recommend educational credential evaluators, as you can see here. There are a variety of different outside agencies, but this is just the one our university recommends. In this case, you would set up an account with this agency. You would provide them your transcripts from your university, and they would really convert those credits in that program to the US system, educational system. They then, once their step is completed, will send it to Minnesota State Mankato for the next evaluation component. This can be a longer process, and so if you have credit from outside the US, you definitely want to start this process sooner rather than later. Again, we cannot determine how your credit will be evaluated at Mankato until you take this first step. I'm going to turn things over to the panel here, but I do want to note that if you have maybe some specific questions about transfer and you don't want to share it with, ask it with the group, or anything else that may apply directly to the nursing program, please feel free to email us directly at nursingadvising@mnsu.edu, and I'll be happy to answer those and stay in contact with you. So from there, I will stop sharing my screen and hand it over to Erica.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that presentation, Cassie. Some great information was shared. There were some questions that we received. So I will just go one by one and we can go through and answer those. So the first one is, does the grading of courses only comprise of the end of the semester exams, or is it a continuous assessment method?
Want me to take that one? Well, it depends on the course, and it depends on how big the course is. I would say that would indicate how it will be, how your learning will be evaluated. But I can't remember any courses, I don't know of any courses that have only a final exam or just one way of assessment. It's usually a group of different assessments that indicate that you have learned the content. Some of them might be short quizzes, some might be small or written paper or a group project or a midterm and a final exam. Other assessments are based on performance in the clinical area or in the simulation lab. So there's a variety, usually a variety of ways of assessments.
Wonderful. Thank you for that answer. The next question that we received was, how many class hours do we get per course? And are tutorials incorporated in learning? So I don't know if our student panels want to share maybe their experiences, maybe with that tutorials incorporation, or Dr. Adwan.
Well, excuse me. Well, what I can say is that not all courses are the same load in terms of credit. And, based on the definition of a one credit hour, it's in the classroom learning for 1 hour times 15 weeks. That's the broad definition, but it also entails at least 2 hours independent learning outside the classroom. And if it also includes clinical, then that's a different calculation. Tutoring, or if you have a group of students working together, these things are extra curricular that people do to strengthen themselves or do better in the exams or in other assessments. And if the students have some insight into that, that would be great as a first-hand experience.
Oh, I just wanted to say for the classes per hours, we usually just have, like you said, 1 hour. And the tutorials is mostly we students like coming together, because I know for a couple of times students, we meet together in smaller groups to study a lot, because sometimes you cannot grasp everything at once. And we also meet up together with the professors for like explanations on some things and office hours, something like that, just so we get more understanding on what we're doing.
Yeah, that's a great point, Victoria. Thank you. I usually, for one, I offer open office hours on certain days, and those are in my calendar, so students can sign up and meet with me in person. Obviously, these days we meet on Zoom, but if they have questions, something is difficult, if they're struggling, I can give them, some pointers here and there how to improve their scores or understand the material, etc.
I might add just a little bit more to that I know Victoria and Sosena can attest to. Really, as Dr. Adwan was saying, the majority of your learning is going to happen typically outside the classroom. You will get that guidance and expertise from your faculty instructor throughout your pre-nursing curriculum and of course within the program. But the majority of your learning is going to happen outside the classroom on your own or with classmates, as Victoria said, and with support and guidance that you may need to seek additional help from instructors during their office hours. A general kind of rule of thumb that we use to talk about, especially with first year students, to kind of understand how much time will this require. We say that as Dr. Adwan said, for every credit, you should expect to, for every credit that you're enrolled in, you should expect to spend 2 to maybe 3 hours of studying outside of class. So as an international student, you're required to be in 12 credits. And so generally that may mean you're going to be in class 12 hours a week, and you should expect to be studying 24 to maybe 36 hours outside of class a week. So if you add 24 to 36 hours of study plus your 12 hours in class, oh, whoa. We got to almost 48 hours. Okay, that's a lot, but that's what we mean when we talk about being a full-time student. That is a full course load, credit load, and that you cannot forget about the amount of time and learning that's happening outside of the class. So that is just a general mathematical rule. It certainly doesn't apply to every course, but for some it may be more.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say it might be overwhelming looking at the course load, because for me at first it was, and I know a lot of students are always like shy or afraid to approach the professors and ask when they really need help. And many end up just dropping out of the, like changing their major just because they feel it's hard. And forgetting the fact that all majors are hard, it just depends on the effort you put in. So you're not gonna wait for the professors to come meet you to know that you have a problem, because they have like tons of other students to lecture. And so it's you to make the effort to meet them and tell them, oh, I have a problem in this course. How do I move forward?
Really excellent point, Victoria, being a self-advocate and directing your educational journey by asking for help and taking advantage of those resources when your instructors are available, when you might need tutoring, when you want to meet with friends or classmates. Excellent point.
This was a great discussion. Thank you all for sharing your experiences and just more information about the credit hours. That's great. The next question has to deal with expenses related to the nursing program. What should students expect or plan for as far as nursing expenses, lab supplies, books, tests, etc.?
Cassie, you probably know more about this.
Actually, I had my list up. Can we go to the next question? Because I can answer that better in just a moment.
Okay.
Of course. Yes, yes. So the next question is, what happens if students are not accepted into the nursing program? What are some of their options if they're not admitted into the program?
Okay, that's me too.
Yes.
So excellent question. I'm glad you're asking it. I know it may come from some anxiety that you may be already feeling, but It is the reality of being a nursing major. And I think it's important to talk about that it's the reality, and that being a nursing major comes with that additional kind of responsibility. And I like to talk openly about it because I want students to be thinking and planning for it. One of the things we talk about in advising is to be, as I mentioned kind of in the PowerPoint presentation, to be tracking your progress along the way and seeing where you're ready. And I see Victoria kind of nodding in agreement. And tracking your progress, knowing where you're at in terms of being ready to apply and how you would, your strength as an applicant, but also be preparing for a potential alternate route. Now, I know that seems daunting when you're just preparing now to come to the US and study at Mankato and pursue this program. But it is a reality, and we want to start planting that seed once you get here throughout advising. And we do provide advisement, group advisement, individual advisement, and some different other opportunities to learn how to plan for a potential alternate route. And so kind of like Victoria said before, it's taking advantage of those resources when we offer them so you can really strengthen an alternate plan and feel confident in it. But generally speaking, what do students do? Some students may reapply to the program, and that may be a great option for some students. It may not be the best option for all students though. And that's a further discussion that I won't go into today, but that might be an option. Other students are going to be preparing to apply to our nursing program while potentially preparing to apply to another nursing program at the same time. And that means students who choose to plan for that route, they're open to the option of transferring from Minnesota State Mankato into another nursing program should they get admitted to that program instead. Okay. The other option is certainly changing your major. Now, students change their major. Some research says 70 to 75% of all college students change their major at least once. So that happens in a very natural way as well throughout the journey. You come to the university, you find other majors, you discover different interests of yourself, and you may change along the way. But students may also change should they not be admitted to our program. We see students change to a variety of different majors and remain here at the university, but we certainly have some main ones. Community health education, which will be shifting a little bit and really called changing to more of an applied health sciences major. We also see exercise science, we see biology, we see elementary education, business management, which I know seems completely different, but that is one of the top ones, psychology, and social work. Those are the main ones numbers wise that we see students transition to. But again, as Erica mentioned earlier, the university has over 130 majors or programs. So, I mean, there's some other great options out there. We have a health informatics bachelor's degree that Dr. Adwan could definitely talk about, which really aligns quite nicely with the nursing curriculum. And so, you know, when students are changing majors, we want to help you transition to a major that's going to align nicely with the coursework you've already spent time, effort, and money on. But we also want to make sure it's aligning with your career goals and your interests. And so there's a variety of factors to take into consideration when doing that. And that's why there isn't a one path for any student. I don't know if anything else, if there's any more to add to that, or if Victoria or Sosena, you want to add anything more to that, or no pressure.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, in support of what you said, like keeping track of your GPA, I feel like it was something I also struggled with, because at some point I didn't know. I know how many times I had to schedule meetings with you and confused to ask some question. So I should also like let all students know that it's very important that you follow your advisor closely, because sometimes some informations are confusing, and the fact that we have like different catalogs with students coming with different year, it makes things really complicated, because you might hear a student from 2019, 2020 catalog say, oh, this is our instruction, so this is how we do it. And student from 2018, 2019 catalog would say something different. And maybe your catalog is 2020, 2021 catalog like me. No, 2019, 2020 catalog like me. We have also like different instructions and guidelines like for each catalog. So what they have, the rules guiding them might be different. So you cannot hear from a student mouth because they all have different things to say. So it's better that you follow your pre-nursing advisors closely. And if you have any concerns or questions or anything that just makes you doubt whatever you're doing, just ask them.
And I didn't even tell her to say work with your advisor. She just said that on her own.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. And as you know, attendees, as you can see, there's so much support on campus, and we want to see every student succeed in the majors that they're pursuing. So I'm wondering if Dr. Adwan, if you could speak a little bit more about the difference between didactic versus clinical credit.
Sure. Well, as we mentioned a little bit ago, the didactic is what goes on in the classroom, instructional activity that happens in the classroom. And we explained earlier that 1 credit hour of didactic would be 1 hour of instruction in the classroom for the whole semester. If you have a course that is 2 or 3 credits, then you can multiply by that number. In addition to the outside independent work that Cassie has very eloquently explained. Now, the clinical portion is different, which includes having hands-on activity, whether it's in the simulation lab, whether it's in the hospital or a clinic, whether it's with a faculty member, which we call faculty-led clinicals, or students on their own in, for example, preceptorship at the end of their program. The course I'm teaching in, which is pediatric or family nursing, which includes pediatric and obstetrics, it's 4 didactic credits and 3 experiential or clinical credits. The amount of or the number of credits for the clinical part is 3 credit hours, translated into 90 of experiential experience. So some of the students go to pediatric floors, spend a few days there, maternity and simulation and clinics, etc. All that adds up. So you can multiply 1 clinical credit times 30 actual hours to spend in the clinical area doing some experiential learning. So didactic in the classroom, clinical is kind of different.
Great, thank you. So we have some questions in the chat. One is it possible to apply documents for free studying?
Within the nursing program, that would not be possible. Again, because we have limited seats, we would only have space available in our courses and our clinical rotations for students who are officially accepted to the program.
Great, thank you. Another question is the TEAS exam compulsory?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can anyone else help me? I mean, I know none of you have taken it, but what I can say about the TEAS, not knowing exactly what the question may be, and I apologize, is exam again that you will take here on campus when you apply to the program. We encourage students to start studying for that exam about 6 weeks or so before you take it. Students usually purchase a study guide. There is other resources out there that are quite robust that you can utilize if you want. There's many free resources as well. Our Student Nurses Association has been known to even kind of set up some different study sessions for students who are taking the T's. So there is a lot of ways to prepare for that exam. Students, again, it is a timed exam that you have about 3.5 hours to complete the entire exam. And there's, again, 4 parts: the math, science, reading, and the English component. The overall score from that exam is what's used towards the admission ranking process of the program.
So if I understand the question correctly, they're asking, can you apply without the TEAS exam?
Oh, no.
Probably not. So that's, I think that's.
It is a requirement for application
Yeah.
or for admission consideration,
Right.
as well as the interview. Yep.
Great, thank you. Another question is, if a student just finished their bachelor's in nursing from back home in Nigeria, and they would like to apply for the nursing program here at MSU, what are their chances?
Can I take a jab?
Go for it.
This reminds me of myself when I finished my baccalaureate in Palestine. Well, it depends on whether the student is pursuing a graduate degree. Is that what they want? If they want to apply for a DMP, then they can try, and there's information on the website to look for, you know, the requirements and, you know, all the application process. But if they're saying that, I think I saw that the question in the chat, the goal for them is to earn an RN to work in the US. So that's kind of a different process. You need the national licensure, you know, certification or licensure to be able to, you know, to be certified or licensed as an RN. It depends on what state you want to go to. And there's also another process before that, another step, which is called the Commission on Graduates of Foreign Nursing Schools, which also tests your knowledge in the nursing content and English. So there are steps to do, but you know, if you have your BSN from a different country, you don't really need to come in and go into nursing again. You can just aim at getting licensed.
Great, thank you so much for sharing. We're coming up on that 10 o'clock hour. We're wrapping up today's presentation. There's still so many great questions. I will stick around a little bit longer. Any closing remarks from our panelists today?
Yes, I do have to go. I have an appointment right here at 10 that I need to be on time for, so I have to go. Maybe others can stay a little bit longer. You have really awesome questions. So great questions. Thanks for the engagement. Thanks for coming. And I hope to see you all, whether it's summer or fall. And again, nursing advising at mnsu.edu for any additional questions. Thank you all. I'm jetting out.
Cassie, thank you.
Thanks,
I'll stay for a few more minutes. It's all right. It's my spring break, so you know I have nothing else to do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
There are a couple more questions I may be able to help.
Maybe just like 2 more questions or so.
Okay.
Let's see. Another question is, can we change to a dental hygienist, and is that an easy transfer?
I think that would have been a good question for Cassie, but from what I understand, you can, there are some, you know, requirements that are similar. For example, anatomy, physiology, etc. You might be able to take those to any of the other health sciences. You know, our college is called the College of Allied Health and Nursing. So dental hygiene and sports medicine, etc. There are other options within the college.
Perfect. And like Cassie had mentioned, we can put that email address in the chat box. So if you if students continue to have questions after today's presentation, they can definitely email that email itself. Maybe we can end on this question, student panelists and Dr. Adwan, what was your experience as, an international student, studying here in the United States? If you could just share a little bit more about your experience, I think that would be really beneficial information for our attendees today.
I'll let the students answer first, because my experience has been a lot, very long time since being an international student. So I'll let them go first. Things have changed.
Perfect. Victoria or Sosena?
Well, I would say nursing, I'm a pre-nursing student right now, and it's a lot of course load because I complain sometimes. But what really helps me a lot is keeping track with my professors. I call them, sometimes they're off his phone. Sometimes, a lot of times I make Zoom meetings with them, and it's really helpful because one question I always ask them is, what does it take to pass your class? Like what studying aids or what tips can they give me in order to pass that class? And I also make use of the tools the university put in place, like the library, the advising center, tutoring center too. These are good resources that student can really like depend on and in order to succeed. And so far with the pre-nursing classes, I wouldn't say it's an easy one because it requires a lot of reading. So it's going to be, for everyone, it's going to be something you have to dedicate time to in order to succeed. And it's not something you can just relax anytime, because I would always say it's like you playing with a human life. So it's a lot of study, and I would urge everyone to like study really hard, talk to your professors and never feel shy, and just keep up with your advisors.
Great, thank you so much for sharing your experience, Victoria. So Sosena or Dr. Adwan, feel free to maybe share a little bit more.
Well, when I came to the US, I came as a graduate student. So probably my experience was different from what undergrads might be. And it takes a lot of work. It's hard work, especially if if English is not your native language and you're studying very intense materials, lots of courses at the same time, a lot of writing. So seek help. And I like the way Victoria is approaching this, having a good dialogue with your professors, trying to understand things that you don't understand or things that are hard to understand. You keep that channel open. That would help you succeed immensely.
Excellent. Well, as you may have seen in our little chat box function, I've included the email address for the School of Nursing. I will also include the Kearney Center for International Student Services email as well. So if you have more questions, there was a couple of questions that we didn't get to today about visas and the application process. So we can definitely advise you further regarding that. So I just want to say thank you so much to our panelists for sharing more and answering those questions and about their experiences. Thank you so much. And for the attendees, thank you so much for showing interest in the School of Nursing and Minnesota State University Mankato. Again, please do not hesitate to reach out if you do have any questions. I realize we only had an hour together today and it seemed like it wasn't enough. So definitely reach out. There's so many great questions, so we do want to make sure that we answer all of them. But have a great rest of your day, everyone. And again, thank you.
Thank you very much.